Welcome to my presentation, The Ethical Responsibility of the Activist Archivist in Community Archives Appraisal. My topic was inspired by two articles from last semester's 540 class where we spent a great deal of time talking about community archives. Community archives are amazing things, but they are not an ultimate panacea for underrepresentation. Gibbs points out that there is pressure to show worthiness in an archive, and that can cause a culture to only show certain parts of themselves and to neglect to tell the stories of individuals who are not completely accepted. Nakata goes further and says that sometimes communities put such restriction on their definitions to protect them that they end up excluding others. My overarching research question is, what is the ethical responsibility of the activist archivist in this situation? I focused on the partnerships between archivists and communities, collection methodologies in community archives, and how archivists can use their training to help community archives as they move through the beginning of creating their archive and their policies. I divided my research into three parts: a literature review describing what archival scholars are studying, a look at Mellon Grant recipients who are doing field work with community archives, and then examinations of up-and-coming community archives via case studies. The literature on this topic is extensive, but boils down to four main things. Education needs to be changed for those who are studying archiving. Archivists must truly become activists and leave their archives behind. Collaboration and partnerships between archivists and community archives are the key to this, and behaviors of archivists as professionals who may seem intimidating or have unfair expectations needs to change. I focused on two Mellon Grant recipients, Arizona State University and Wilson Library. Both are taking very hands-on approaches by reaching out to community members, providing workshops, trainings, materials, how-to guides, and creating collaborative projects. I examined several community archives and noted that for some, digital has been a savior, and for others, it is still a barrier that they have not yet breached. Partnerships are everywhere, not just with traditional archives, but with schools, private organizations, cities, and towns. And because collections are actually sought out, not generally donated, the archives often have a grab bag of material. This topic is far more complex than I anticipated, and one of my sub-research questions evolved from focusing on the role of formal collection methodologies to how they are combined and adjusted to meet the needs of a community archive. I have a great deal of research, but it has been challenging putting that research through the lens of traditional appraisal because nothing about community archives are traditional. The mission and challenge they begin with is very different. Most traditional archives struggle with not enough space and too many materials, when it is just the opposite for community archives. They have nothing, and so because of that, anything they come across has value. It is Schellenberg on steroids. Collection and appraisal are simply combined. Community archives also represent the ultimate in anti-Jenkinsonian appraisal. In fact, Zinn is frequently cited, reminding us that professionalism and neutrality don't rule everything. The truth is that community archiving is a political action, and when an archivist joins that, he or she is surrendering his neutrality. It's time to leave the archives and seek out information, not wait for it to come to us. Community archives are really participatory archiving in motion. They're about creating relationships and avoiding a professional double standard. When we as archivists expect community archives to be in a traditional fashion, we are putting on them an expectation that they polish everything, that they hide away certain parts. And in a way, we're forcing them to misrepresent or underrepresent parts of themselves. So we have to be accepting and understand nothing about this is traditional. It is time for us to change the saying, do as I say, not as I do, to simply do as I do. When working with community archives, we need to model best practice and be open in our dealings in order to help them thrive.